Chosen one, you are not here by accident, and this moment is not random. Heaven has aligned time and attention to bring you here because your spirit was ready to hear what your mind has been struggling to understand. There is a divine appointment taking place right now, and you were drawn into it by perfect spiritual timing, not curiosity. What you are sensing is not imagination, it is recognition. Chosen one, the weight you've been carrying did not come from fear, but from responsibility. God has been watching how you've waited, how you've trusted even when clarity was delayed. And now, you are standing at the edge of a supernatural shift. Not noise, not chaos, but a calibrated release. A divine adjustment that opens the door to provision, stability, and a transfer that comes only when character and timing align. The Anointed One does not strive for what God has already measured. Scripture reminds us that the steps of the righteous are ordered, not rushed. Every delay you questioned, every door that closed, every season that felt financially tight or uncertain was not denial. It was preparation. God was aligning capacity with calling. Chosen one, let your spirit rise now. Faith is being awakened. Expectation is being restored. This is not just reassurance, this is activation. Stay with me, because what is being released in this moment is meant to quiet your worry and position you to receive what heaven has already approved. Chosen one, before anything else, let me say this slowly and clearly. Your worry is not proof of weak faith, it is evidence of deep calling. I know that may surprise you, but I've lived this truth, and I've watched it repeat itself in the lives of others who were marked early and shaped quietly. The ones who worry the most are often the ones who see the furthest. And seeing far can feel heavy when you're still walking through today. Chosen one, you don't worry because you don't trust God. You worry because you are aware. You sense responsibility before instruction arrives. You feel outcomes before timing is revealed. Your mind doesn't live on the surface. It searches for meaning, alignment, consequence. While others move through life distracted by noise and comfort, your thoughts drift toward purpose, destiny, and the question that haunts you in quiet moments. Am I doing this right? That question has followed you for years. I know it has. I've sat in that same space, replaying conversations at night, wondering if I missed something God wanted me to see. I've felt the tension of knowing there is more ahead, while not being able to see it clearly yet. And that space, chosen one, that in-between space, is where worry tries to make its home. But hear this with authority. Worry did not come because God stepped away. It came because you tried to carry tomorrow with today's strength. Awareness became anxiety only because the enemy whispered urgency where God intended trust. He told you that if you stop thinking about it, everything will fall apart. That if you relax, you'll miss your moment. But that voice does not come from heaven. Chosen one, God never asked you to manage outcomes. He asked you to walk in obedience. I had to learn that the hard way. There was a season where I thought constant analysis meant responsibility. I thought staying mentally alert meant staying faithful, but all it did was exhaust me, because I was trying to oversee what God had already calibrated. You are not anxious because you are careless. You are anxious because you care deeply. You care about honoring God. You care about not wasting time. You care about not failing the assignment you sense on your life. And yes, you are in transition. You have outgrown old versions of yourself, but you haven't fully stepped into the new one yet. That space feels unstable, unfamiliar, lonely at times. But it is not confusion, it is shedding. Every shedding feels like loss before it feels like freedom. Old habits, old thinking, old attachments, resist, release. And when release happens quietly, without applause or explanation, the mind starts asking questions the spirit already knows the answer to. That's where worry tries to speak louder than wisdom. Chosen one, let me correct something gently but firmly. Your worry is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that something valuable has been entrusted to you. Ordinary minds don't wrestle with destiny. Ordinary souls don't feel the weight of alignment. But worry becomes dangerous when it turns into self-doubt. When it convinces you that God needs your anxiety to keep things on track. God is not threatened by time, and neither is your calling. Your path does not require your stress to function. It requires your trust. Worry feels productive because it creates the illusion of control, but it clouds clarity and tightens the spirit. And a tightened spirit cannot move freely with God. So let me ground you here, chosen one. If God calibrated your path, then worry is unnecessary. Calibration means nothing is excessive and nothing is missing. Even delays have purpose. Even unanswered questions are allowed. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are becoming. And becoming often feels uncomfortable before it feels powerful. Stay with me, because now that you understand why you've been worrying, it's time to see how precisely God has been calibrating every step you thought was uncertain. Chosen one, this is where your understanding must shift, because what you interpreted as delay was actually precision. God was not withholding movement from you. He was refining alignment. Calibration is not random adjustment. It is intentional measurement. It is what happens when accuracy matters more than speed. And your life requires accuracy. I learned this during a season when everything around me looked quiet. Doors weren't opening. Prayers felt unanswered. Progress seemed invisible. But later, when I looked back, I realized God was adjusting angles I didn't even know existed. Timing, character, discernment, capacity. The silence was not absence, it was focus. Chosen one, God does not improvise with destinies. He does not experiment with assignments. When He calibrates a path, He accounts for every variable. The family you were born into, the environment that shaped you, the heartbreaks that slowed you down, the closed doors that confused you, none of it was accidental. Every element was factored into your becoming, even the painful ones. You see events. God sees sequence. You see delay. God sees preparation. This is where many chosen ones struggle, because you want clarity before movement. But God often gives movement before clarity, not to frustrate you, but to protect you. If He showed you everything at once, the weight would crush you. So He releases understanding in portions, strength in measures, insight in seasons, just enough light for the next step. Calibration requires tension. Too loose and nothing aligns. Too rigid and it breaks. God applies just enough pressure to adjust you without destroying you. That's why your life felt intense but survivable, heavy but not fatal, challenging but not consuming. The delays you resented were not punishment. They were protection. There were things you prayed for that God withheld, not because He ignored you, but because He saw further than you could. He saw how certain blessings would change you too quickly, how they could awaken pride, how they could create dependence instead of trust. So He said, "Not yet." And not yet was still love. Chosen one, God does not rush what He values, and He values you deeply. Even your mistakes were accounted for. God knew where fear would speak louder than faith. He knew where emotions would cloud judgment, and yet He adjusted the path without removing the purpose. That is grace. That is sovereignty. That is divine intelligence beyond human planning. You did not miss your moment. God does not operate on fragile windows. He creates moments. When alignment begins, you will feel it, not as chaos, but as ease. You will not have to force doors open. You will not have to chase what belongs to you. Conversations will align naturally. Opportunities will arrive without manipulation. Resistance will lessen, not because challenges disappear, but because they lose power over you. Calibration also includes restraint. God restricted access to certain people, places, and opportunities because they would pull you off frequency. You called it rejection. God called it redirection. You called it loss. God called it pruning. And pruning always comes before growth. There were relationships that ended because they could not go where you were being taken. Versions of you had to die so the next version could breathe. That process hurt because endings always do. But what emerges afterward carries clarity, authority, and peace. If your life feels slow, it's because God is being careful with you. If your progress feels quiet, it's because He is building something stable. Loud beginnings often collapse. Quiet foundations last. Chosen one, stop interpreting discomfort as disorder. God often disturbs what is comfortable to align what is meaningful. You are not late. You are not early. You are exactly where you need to be for what is forming inside you. And once you truly understand this, the noise inside your mind will begin to settle. Chosen one, this is the season that tests the mind more than the faith. Silence. The quiet stretches where prayers feel unanswered and movement seems invisible. I want you to hear this clearly. Silence does not mean God stepped away. Silence means God leaned in with focus. I have lived through seasons where everything external slowed down. No confirmations, no applause, no visible progress. Just mornings that felt the same and nights filled with questions. And it was there, in that uncomfortable stillness, that I learned silence is not empty. It is crowded with formation. Chosen one, noise gives the illusion of movement. Silence demands trust. And trust is not passive. It is one of the strongest disciplines you will ever develop. When God goes quiet, He is not punishing you. He is strengthening your hearing. He is teaching you to recognize His presence without constant reassurance. Silence dismantles dependence on validation. No recognition, no visible rewards, just obedience. That feels uncomfortable because anything in us that needs affirmation begins to surface. But what is built on constant approval will collapse under pressure. God hides what He values until it can stand. Think about it. Moses was hidden before he was sent. David was anointed long before he was crowned. Even Jesus lived quietly before He moved powerfully. Silence always comes before impact. Chosen one, you felt forgotten because God was protecting you from premature exposure. If you were revealed too early, people would see the gift before the foundation. And gifts without foundations attract attack. So, God covered you. He stripped away what could not travel with you. Old mindsets, old fears, old attachments, even old versions of faith that depended on conditions instead of trust. Stripping hurts because identity gets tangled in familiarity. When familiarity is removed, the soul panics before it understands. You asked why results were delayed. Because results come after roots. You do not celebrate roots. You do not photograph roots. But without them, nothing stands. Silence is also where discernment is sharpened. When everything is loud, it is easy to confuse emotion with instruction. In silence, you learn restraint. You learn to pause before reacting. You learn to hear the difference between impulse and direction. And restraint is not weakness, it is power. Chosen one, God was not withholding answers to frustrate you. He was maturing you so you could carry answers without being overwhelmed. Some blessings require discipline to sustain. Some truths require strength to hold. Silence prepares you for both. You may feel like nothing is happening, but something is always happening. Character is being refined. Patience is being strengthened. Faith is deepening beneath the surface. And clarity is forming quietly. Here is how you know God has not abandoned you. If He had, you would feel empty. Instead, you feel restless. Restlessness means movement is happening inside you. Dead things do not wrestle. Growing things do. Silence exposes distractions. When noise is removed, habits become visible. Coping mechanisms surface. Dependencies reveal themselves. God does this not to shame you, but to heal you. He cannot heal what you refuse to see. And hear this truth, chosen one. God does not waste silent seasons. He does not extend them unnecessarily. He ends them precisely when the work is complete, not when you demand it. Not when you think you are ready, but when you actually are. You are not stuck. You are being steadied. You are not delayed. You are being fortified. And the silence will break, not with chaos, but with clarity. When God speaks after silence, direction becomes simple. Movement feels natural. Peace accompanies action. Until then, rest your spirit. Silence is not the absence of God. It is the presence of His hand working carefully, quietly, intentionally. This season shaped strength, discernment, patience, authority, endurance, obedience, clarity, faith. Chosen one, this is the part few are prepared for, because isolation feels personal even when it is purposeful. There is a loneliness you have felt that words never quite captured. You can be surrounded by people and still feel separate, not superior, not distant by choice, just different. And for a long time, you wondered if something was wrong with you. There wasn't. Isolation was not rejection, it was positioning. From early on, you noticed a pattern. Friendships that faded without explanation. Groups that once felt comfortable slowly became draining. Environments you outgrew before you could explain why. You did not become difficult, you became aware. And awareness always creates distance. Chosen one, God separates those He intends to use with clarity. When everyone moves with the crowd, vision becomes distorted. Noise blurs discernment. So God removes the chosen from constant voices, not to punish them, but to sharpen their sight. Isolation is where discernment matures. People may have misunderstood you. They may have called you distant, unpredictable, or guarded. But they did not see the internal work taking place. You think before you move. You question before you follow. You feel deeply, but you do not express everything. That confuses people who live externally, but it protects someone carrying assignment. Isolation also revealed a hard truth. Not everyone had the heart, integrity, or maturity to walk with you into the next season. Some connections would have delayed you, others would have drained you. God limited access because access to you is sacred, and that lesson will protect you long after this season ends. You may have noticed that shallow conversations no longer satisfy you. Small talk drains you. Performative relationships feel empty. You crave depth, meaning, substance. That craving is not unrealistic. It reflects your spiritual capacity. Deep souls cannot be nourished in shallow environments. Chosen one, isolation does not mean you are unloved. It means your spirit requires space to grow. Seeds do not sprout in crowds. They grow in darkness, silence, and solitude. Only after roots form does anything visible emerge. You wondered why others seemed surrounded while you stood alone. Understand this: God often gives crowds to those who need validation. He gives solitude to those who need clarity. You are being trained to stand firm even when no one applauds, because one day your obedience will require courage without consensus. Isolation also builds internal confidence. When no one is there to affirm you, you learn to stand on conviction. When no one agrees with you, you learn to trust what God showed you. That confidence cannot be taught. It can only be built in solitude. Let me correct a harmful thought you may still carry. Isolation is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is often proof that something is right. You outgrew a space, and instead of shrinking to fit it, God moved you out of it. Yes, isolation hurts at times. There were moments you wanted to be understood, moments you longed for companionship, moments you wished someone could truly see you. God saw that desire. He did not ignore it, but He was careful with who He allowed close to you. Chosen ones are not protected because they are fragile. They are protected because they are valuable. Isolation taught you boundaries. It taught you when to engage and when to retreat. It taught you that access to your time, energy, and emotions is not casual. That wisdom will serve you well when aligned people arrive, and they will arrive. This season will not last forever. God brings the right connections at the right time, people who recognize your depth without trying to change it, people who strengthen rather than drain you. But before that, you had to learn to stand whole on your own. Isolation also removed a subtle dependency, the need for permission. When you walk alone, there is no crowd to approve or disapprove. There is only obedience. And that is where spiritual authority is formed. So do not rush to escape this season. Do not force connection where God ordained separation. Solitude is not a curse. It is a classroom, and you are learning lessons that will sustain you long after the crowd returns. Chosen one. This is where worry finally loses its authority, because control has been quietly fueling it all along. Not arrogance, not rebellion. Survival. You learned early that if you did not stay alert, things could fall apart. So you monitored everything. You replayed conversations. You prepared for outcomes that never arrived. Vigilance slowly became control, and control disguised itself as wisdom. But hear this clearly: control is not responsibility. Responsibility is obedience. Control is fear wearing discipline's clothing. God never asked you to manage outcomes. He asked you to steward your heart, your choices, and your response. Everything beyond that was never yours to carry. I had to confront this in my own life. I thought if I anticipated every scenario, I could avoid disappointment. All it did was drain peace. Control feels safe because it creates predictability, but it tightens the spirit. A tense spirit cannot flow with God. God does not require tension to prove faithfulness. He requires surrender. Surrender is not passivity, it is active trust. You still prepare, you still move when instructed, but you stop forcing timing, reactions, and results. You stop rehearsing failure. You stop negotiating fear. Control often appears when you are tired of being disappointed, but guarding your heart too tightly also blocks joy. Chosen one. God sees more than you. He knows more than you, and He cares more deeply about your future than you ever could. If that is true, constant worry is not preparation. It is distrust disguised as diligence. Strength without surrender leads to burnout. Strength with surrender leads to peace. You have been exhausted because you carried tomorrow with today's grace. God only gives grace for today. When you drag the future into the present, you exceed your supply. That is why your mind felt overwhelmed. Letting go of control means learning to stay present without becoming careless. Here is how alignment activates. When you release control, anticipation replaces anxiety. Not restless anticipation, but quiet expectancy. The path does not explode open, it aligns. The first shift is internal. Urgency fades, overthinking quiets. Peace becomes familiar. That is not coincidence. That is calibration activating. Decisions feel clearer. Resistance loses its draining power. Doors open without force. Conversations align naturally. You stop chasing what once consumed you. What is meant for you begins to recognize you. Divine movement attracts rather than exhausts. You also become selective without guilt. You say no without explanation. You protect your energy without apology. That is not selfishness. It is stewardship. Looking back, you will realize how much worry you carried unnecessarily, not with regret, but relief. You will understand why God did not rush you. Alignment changes how you experience time. You stop feeling behind. You stop racing invisible deadlines. Urgency was never coming from God. Accuracy always outruns speed. When alignment activates, confidence becomes quiet. You trust the process because you can feel it working. Activation is not always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like peace replacing panic, clarity replacing noise, stability replacing chaos. God removes unnecessary pressure, not responsibility. You still participate, but you no longer strive. Staying grounded now becomes essential. Peace must be guarded daily. You protect it by disengaging from unnecessary thoughts, conversations, and expectations. Discernment becomes knowing what is unnecessary. Stillness is not laziness, it is renewal. Chosen one, your peace is sacred. When peace is protected, clarity remains. When clarity remains, alignment stays intact. You were never off track. You were being calibrated. Your worry ends here. Chosen one, take a breath and let this moment settle into your spirit. What you have received is not information, it is confirmation. You were never off track. You were never forgotten. You were never late. Heaven has been calibrating your steps with precision, patience, and purpose. And now you are standing in your Kairos moment, the exact time appointed for alignment to activate. Anointed one, a supernatural transfer is already in motion, not forced, not rushed, quietly released. What God has prepared for you is meeting the version of you that can now carry it without fear, pride, or confusion. The weight you once carried has been lifted because it was never meant to be yours. You were called to walk in obedience, not to carry the burden of outcomes. From this moment forward, let peace become your posture. Let trust be your rhythm. Let gratitude guide your vision. You do not need to chase what God has already approved. You do not need to strive for what has already been aligned. What is meant for you is moving toward you with intention and clarity. Chosen one, stay faithful in the quiet. Stay aligned in the waiting. Stay grateful as you move forward. The same God who calibrated your past is orchestrating your future, and what manifests next will not require defense, explanation, or force. It will arrive with peace. If this word has settled deeply in you, honor it. Share it with another chosen one who needs reassurance. Stay connected to this space of alignment, and if you feel led, declare your trust by commenting 777, not as a ritual, but as a surrender. Walk forward now, calm, grounded, clear, aligned. Your path is set, and heaven is faithful.